What do you expect a CEO to do? Lead a company, make more profits, maybe introduce a good corporate culture. But here's what you do not expect from them. Geopolitical commentary, especially on elections in a foreign country. But that's what Guillaume Faury is doing. He's the chief executive of Airbus. His company is worth almost $124 billion. It makes half of all commercial planes in the world. And this week, he made a damning assessment. He said that Europe is not ready for Donald Trump and Russia. What does that mean? Well, Donald Trump is challenging Joe Biden for the presidency in the US. He's not a big fan of NATO. In fact, he's talked about abandoning NATO members. So if Trump wins, Europe may lose its godfather, its military defender. And Faury says Europe is not ready for that. Same with Russia. He says Putin is spending a lot of money on defense. So if Moscow expands the war, Europe is unprepared to face it. Now, these are big claims. Does the Airbus CEO have a solution for it? Well, yes, he does. His solution is this: spend more on defense. Airbus wants European nations to think beyond the US, to build their own military assets, their own weapons and fighter jets. Listen to this. We have put a lot in the hands of others. We are subcritical on most of the different systems in Europe. We do not collaborate enough to create investment at scale. We buy mostly from outside of Europe and mostly from the US. Why is he saying this though? Maybe because his company makes weapons. Airbus is the biggest European defense company. They make fighter jets and helicopters. So more defense spending equals more profits for them. Hence these dire warnings. Just look at these numbers. Europe spent around $388 billion on defense last year. $388 billion. Asia spent a lot more, some $510 billion last year. So the belief is that Europe has untapped potential. They should be spending a lot more on defense. And Airbus could use that help. Their profits fell by around 11% in 2023. More defense spending could turn things around for them. The question is, how do you do that? You see, Europe is not a single entity. You have 27 countries in the European Union, and you have Britain outside it. You also have the likes of Switzerland and Norway. So increasing spending is easier said than done. But the Airbus CEO has an idea. Again, listen to this, and I'm quoting. It's quite clear that we need to find a way to pool our efforts together as Europeans to have one very powerful capability by type of weapon system. How would that work? Let's consider an example. Right now, European nations have multiple fighter jets. Airbus has the Eurofighter, France has the Rafale, and Sweden has the Gripen. The Airbus proposal is to unite all of this. Instead of splitting resources, combine them, make one European fighter jet. It's a very ambitious idea. After all, American firms still dominate the European market. The UK, Belgium, Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands fly American F-35s. They also use Boeing aircraft, like the Apache, the Chinook, the C-17, and the P-8 spy jets. You can't change that overnight. The Airbus CEO may have his own capitalist reasons for what he said, but there is logic here. How long can you depend on another country's hardware? Can you keep, in fact, outsourcing security? It's not just a question for Europe, it's also a question for countries like India. We are the biggest defense importers in the world. If you localize that industry, there are many advantages to make in India in defense. You have more control over the technology, you can create more jobs, and you don't have to depend on foreign powers. So local technology does help. Whether it's urgent for Europe is a different question. After all, the Airbus CEO is not exactly a neutral player. It's like asking a pianist what his favorite instrument is.